welcome to
Hi.
this week's episode. I'm Jay and my partner in crime, Hussein, and we're here to try and stay sane. So let's jump
Yeah.
into the news for this week. All right, Iran shocked the world. The new moderate president has announced a relaxation of hijab enforcement, announced
Mm.
on the second anniversary of Masa Amini's death. The morality police will no longer, quote, bother women. Signs of a potentially more relaxed attitude to the country's strict dress code for women were present at the president's press conference on last Monday, where some of the female journalists were wearing loose head coverings. The president has also vowed to ease some of the country's long-standing internet controls. So maybe we'll see Iran starting to emerge from 40 years of the Islamic Republic. On Saturday, the Israeli military announced it was investigating footage of its soldiers throwing the bodies of three dead Palestinians off of a roof in the West Bank. The images have sparked widespread outrage, and the IDF has said, quote, "This is a serious incident that does not conform with our values and the expectations from IDF soldiers. The incident is under review." Also in Israel, we've seen an escalation in hostilities with Hezbollah in Lebanon, as both sides have been trading fire. As this is an ongoing situation, we're going to have to see how it plays out. And the UN has been calling for a de-escalation. My last story for this week, in the UK, four of the most senior members of the senior bishops of the Church of England have issued a strongly worded rebuke to the state of Israel about settler violence in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian communities are experiencing escalating attacks, dispossession, house demolitions, and arson. The letter states, and I quote, "There has always been a close relationship between successive Israeli governments and the settler movement, but there now seems to be little distinction between settler violence and state violence. The bishops demand the Israeli government, quote, stop acting as if it is uniquely above the law." And that's it for me this week. Over to you, Hussein.
Yeah, just before getting into my news items, with regards to the news that came from Iran regarding easing of the hijab rules in Iran, do you think that that's going to be something solid from that ruler in Iran as a new prime
I
minister?
I think so. I mean, like the fact that he has publicly stated that he's told the morality police to back off,
Mm,
I think is a very good sign. And he's like I said, they're opening up the internet a little bit. So, I mean, it's definitely a positive sign. Of
mm,
course, the we mentioned a few weeks ago, like the day he was elected or inaugurated, I can't remember,
mm,
Israel like attacked Iran. I'm like, okay, that's not helping a moderate guy get a foot in the door and wedge it open.
mm,
So
mm.
again, it's we're gonna have to wait and see. But I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic
Okay.
that we might
Yeah.
see an opening up.
Yeah, definitely. That's a chance for us to be optimistic while thinking about Iran. I agree to that. But at the same time, when we mention about the assassination chances against the MBS in Saudi Arabia, I think this would be another reason for even we listening about some sort of such attempts or some chances against this president in Iran. That's one possibility in the near future. Or maybe this could be a sort of, or a kind of doing things in a way that to woo the people, to make them align with the governments over there. Because if you had gone back to the days when Raisi was getting killed in a chopper accident, people were rejoicing in that country on his death.
Yeah.
The citizens of Iran. That's how the Iranians were responding to that kind of a death to one of the leaders of their country. So, though Iran, as represented in the international arena, especially with regards to the attacks that's going on in Palestine, the Hamas, the Israel, and all, Israel is always cited as a proxy or a thug leader. That's how it is being presented in front of the international community. But at the same time, the people are fed up with such a thing because they are not really interested in all these things. So the people of Iran is entirely different from what Iran represents itself in the international arena. So at the same time, I think this is a way by which the government is trying to get hold on to the people, to side with them, at least in this matter, which is the prime reason for the anger shown by them in the recent years, especially 2 years. It's the second anniversary on this Mahsa Amini death and all. So I think, yeah, though this is a reason for us to be optimistic about them, but at the same time, we have some chances of even an assassination attempt against or over this president by uh, the hardened Islamic factions within Iran. That's one possibility, just like we mentioned about MBS in Saudi Arabia.
That would be unfortunate. I want actually want to pop it in the chat here for people. You mentioned the possible assassination attempt.
Mm,
For people who are not familiar with not recent, but more like from the 1950s, more
mhm,
contemporary modern history. Operation Ajax, the 1953 U.S. UK coup d'état that overthrew the secular elected government in Iran, which then
mm.
ultimately led, the blowback led to the 79
Islamic
Islamic coup.
Revolution. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just putting if you're not familiar with that, I'm just putting it in the chat. People can go read up on Operation Ajax. So
Mm,
yeah, it would be kind of a kind of history repeating itself that you have a moderate secular president who gets taken
mm.
out
Yeah.
once by the Brits and now by the Islamists. So it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens.
The Shahs were in the power during that Islamic coup that happened in
79.
1979. Yeah. So this time history repeats, especially in Iran.
So
So
they say,
let's,
those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it, and people like you and I
yeah,
who know our history are doomed to sit back and watch it repeat. So
watch, yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so moving on, we have a few news reports coming from all around the world, especially from Palestine. Two news from there. One is regarding a poll that came out on 17th September. That's the date that we are seeing here. It's regarding a poll that was carried out in Gaza and West Bank, where the Palestinians were showing less support onto the attack on October 7th, which was done by or initiated by the Hamas. So this is the second time that they are doing this poll, this survey among the people over there. So this time they are showing less interest or less support on these attacks, and it has come down. So this time, 57% of Gazans think that October 7 was incorrect. That's how they see it now. But at the same time, in the previous poll, it was just the opposite. That is 57 in Gaza. So the October 7th as the correct one, or they were supporting the Hamas in doing this or initiating this October 7th attack in Israel. And also, there is a drop in the Hamas support in the same region. That's how we are seeing it today. So, this is one thing from Palestine. And another one is from Gaza itself, that's regarding missing Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, the new leader. He was newly appointed. He was succeeded from that Hania, the previous leader. So right now he's missing, and Israel is suspecting that he might have got wounded or maybe got killed in one of the attacks that was targeting him. But it's still under investigation. Maybe we'll get a complete picture within a few more days or in the coming days. That's what we expect. So that's one news from coming there, Gaza. And another one is about the pager explosions, not just the pagers, but again, the walkie talkies, pagers altogether. They caused massive distraction among the lead, not just the workers or the people of Hezbollah, even the, what do you say, their top commanders and the top leaders, including an ambassador from Iran to Lebanon. He was also injured in this. So nobody knows how come a Hezbollah pager was present with the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon. So that's giving a solid version to the usual narrative that Iran is leading proxy wars with ha he who. That's what we say. That is Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. Ha he who. So
Yeah,
this time
never
it's
heard
the
that.
Hezbollah. Yeah. So this time it's the Hezbollah, and they had distributed these pages to all their commanders and the top leaders, and this was present with this commander, this ambassador from Iran. He was also injured in this, and almost 32 people killed, and including two children who were handling this device at their home. Unfortunate. And also, just after this pager attack, the next day, on another instance, there were exploding walkie-talkies, which killed almost 20 and injuring at least 450 people. So this time, again, it targeted attacks against the top commanders and the fighters of this band, or what you say, proscribed terrorist organization in various countries, Hezbollah. So now the war is escalating even in another country, that's in Lebanon, moving away from the Gazan region. So now Israel is fighting over there. So hope this will end very soon with all these people getting affected, and people are moving out of these stations where Hezbollah is hiding or they are stationed. So this is happening in Lebanon this time. And
Commander,
now, and
just ask you one
sorry.
question. So our
Mm,
our viewers have asked us repeatedly,
mhm,
like they want to see you and I debate and go at it. So
mhm,
on this pager issue, so it hasn't been proven. It's been speculated that Israel was behind this. No, it has not been proven. Now, I'm following along with the discussions on various forums. There
mm.
are people saying like this is a war crime. This was Israel, like because innocents have been killed. You mentioned the two children. Do you think this was a war crime on Israel's part?
I don't think this is a war crime because we have enough reasons. Because, just before doing this attack, this targeted attack in the form of these pager explosions, uh, we had instances where some of the children who were killed got killed in northern Israel while they were playing. These plays were bombed by this Hezbollah militants, and that was just one instance where that was happening. And throughout all these weeks and months, we were seeing showering bombs and missiles from this region into the northern Israel, from the led by the Hezbollah. So nobody was questioning them. Nobody was asking for a proportionate attack. So one question which I would ask here is that, okay, if you are mentioning about proportionate attack or proportionate retaliation, that's what your point is, whether this is the proportionate attack targeting the people who are doing this or committing this crime or committing this attack, or the same way Hezbollah was showering the bombs to northern Israel, should Israel shower bombs and missiles over Lebanese civilians just like Hezbollah was doing? Will that be the exact proportionate response? I don't think that's the right way, because we, at any cost, should avoid civilian deaths. And if two children got killed this time, that's totally unfortunate, and that's the collateral damage when we try to target the terrorists or the people who are really committing this. And at the same time, this pager or this device, which shouldn't be with the children, was with the children, and they were getting targeted
Okay. But what
mistakenly.
about the fact that this is indiscriminate killing? So, I mean, I'm going to reserve judgment, but just for the
Mm,
sake of argument, assume that Israel was behind this. So they had no idea where the people holding these pagers and walkie-talkies were going to be when they went off. I mean, I think there was a wedding, one of them went off. This is purely indiscriminate on their part. They had no way to control where and when these people would be. Like, yes, if it was like a compound, like, you have these militias in the US, if it was a compound where the terrorists were self-contained, but you've got people walking around the city. Like, this was completely indiscriminate. So, I will reserve judgment because, I don't know whether it rises to the level of a war crime. I don't know how they define that.
mm,
I'll leave that to the experts, but it certainly seems rather indiscriminate on Israel's part. But again, yes, they have a right to defend themselves. These were terrorists who had these pagers and walkie-talkies.
Mm,
So yes, they are.
okay.
Those were legitimate targets. I would concede that point.
Mm,
But it seems, you know, for a country that has the level of armaments and intelligence gathering that the Mossad has, they could conduct much more precise, surgical hits
mm,
would be my guess. But I'm not a military analyst, so I'm
mhm.
just, an armchair quarterback. So
Uh, I think this the number of pagers that was targeted this time or that was used this time was almost 5,000 devices. If we take just the number of the pagers, out of 5,000 pagers, it was just two which were with the children. So 2 out of 5,000. I think that's pretty good number, which proves the accuracy and the precision in which one can carry out an
yeah,
attack.
it was more than just those two innocent children.
No, that's the number of deaths that happened, and that's the as per the reports which that was even that we are knowing about the other people who got killed in this. So other than that, almost all devices were with the Hamas or the Hezbollah people, and that's already confirmed. So why I'm just taking out from my perspective because Hezbollah was constantly bragging about using this device, pager, as a most secure device. No one could penetrate into that. They were even ditching mobiles and other smart devices just for the fear of the same reason because they are in the middle of a war. They are in the middle of operating a war, not just waging a war. They are operating proxies and other things. So they know the seriousness or they know the gravity of misusing these things. So Mossad or whoever be behind this, they were pretty sure about one thing, that's mostly this device will be with them. That could be one reason why they selected this operation. That's what I believe because if they were not concerned about such a security issue, breach issue, tracking issue, and any sort of issues that they were citing for ditching a mobile, they wouldn't carry this pager in a so slackly where they might be misplacing it or they might be handling it so loosely maybe with the children or some other people. They wouldn't do that because they are already aware of the breach situations and the tracking situations, so they are already aware of that. So
So you're
in
okay with a terrorist
mm.
carrying unknowingly carrying a bomb into a public area. You're okay with that?
But this issue or the blast, that's mainly you might have seen how it was happening. It was causing a magnitude of a blast which is not going beyond a circle or a radius beyond which the if we it could have gone that way, it could have caused much more damage. But it was almost made sure that this will be causing damage to the person who is wearing. That's how it was completely designed, or that's how it was operated. So in that way, they have
That
taken
makes it
enough
okay.
control. Sorry?
But that makes it okay. That
Yeah, if that is
legitimizes this
killing that,
tactic.
yeah, so in that way, if that is killing that person, the person who is carrying, and if he's a terrorist, and if it is not causing much trouble or much injury to the people around, even in a crowd, I don't think there's a big problem with that.
Right. I mean,
That's what I believe.
obviously, in every war, there's going to be collateral damage. It's an unfortunate,
Mm,
fact, but this is where a lot of the outrage against Israel is coming from. A lot of these protests,
mm.
which the rhetoric around is, oh, this is just anti-Semitism. Like, no, people are genuinely pissed off at, Israel acting so indiscriminately and killing so many innocent people.
Mm.
When they have, I mean, yes, they have the right to defend themselves from terrorists. I mean, there's no argument there, but people are
Then
calling into question their tactics.
okay, then my question back at you is this: if this is not the right action, whether showering the bombs and missiles, just like the way Hezbollah was doing throughout a month, throughout almost 2 3 months that they were doing in the northern Israel region, will that be the right way of responding to the attacks that they were doing, killing the innocent civilians?
Well, we know from the Americans and their drones, that have killed people indiscriminately. All you do is create more terrorists. You just piss
Yeah,
off
yeah,
more
of
people.
course, that's a problem. But this time anyway, Israel has not done that. So, uh, in as a response to what they were doing, Israel could do two things. They had two options. One is to shower back the missiles and the rockets. Option number two is to do this. So, which is better?
Well, like I said, it's
That's
a
the
messy
problem.
situation. Yeah, it's a messy situation all around. My personal belief is I
Yeah.
think I would assume that Israel has the capability to conduct more surgically precise attacks. But that
I think this is
obviously then puts
precise enough because,
but that puts their people in harm's way as well. But
yeah,
you would lower collateral damage that way. So again, this is a call for the senior strategists, the generals, and the intelligence officers to be making. So I'm just all I can do is sit back and wait and see how it plays out.
yeah. See, when we mention about the precision, I think this is even more precise. I don't know whether how can be even more precise. Like you are not dealing with one or two terrorists. Okay, we had issues like there were instances where we had to tackle 10 terrorists or 5 terrorists. We could do that as Indians. We have seen that our army doing this. But this is, we are dealing with an army of terrorists, which represents a country, which is going parallel to a country. And that's not in hundreds. They are not even in thousands. They are in lakhs and millions. They could be. So in that kind of a situation, I don't think this is one can be even more precise than this because 5,000 devices were targeted, and they exploded, and they could injure or as many terrorists as much as possible with this. And it's not about causing injury. It's like giving them a message. You are Nothing is impossible with us. This is the message. And this is giving them a kind of a sense of shame and humiliation where their bragging is nowhere valid, and that's not reaching anywhere. Anything is penetrable. That's how they should be believing it from now on. That's what I find it here. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on.
Let's see.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but I just wanted to briefly get your opinion. So okay, back to the news.
Back to the news. So anyway, we'll see more of these kind of attacks, targeted attacks, even more precise than this one could be. We'll welcome that. That's what I would say. Anyway, this is one news, another one. And do you have anyone else, or shall I continue
No,
with
no,
this?
I did the four that I had on my list. I've gone through all four.
Okay, okay. Just almost a day ago, we saw Israeli forces ordering a 45-day closure for Al Jazeera West Bank office. This is one news.
Yeah,
Have you gone through that,
I s-
or?
I s- I read it, but I didn't include it. So
Oh, okay. So this is one coming from the West Bank region. So Israel is carrying out an operation in the West Bank region right now. So they are forcing to close this Al Jazeera news over there. In fact, I'm against closing down news outlets,
hmm
whatever it be. That's what
yep.
I always mention about. So even in our country, we have such situations where one or two news outlets, mostly backed by the Islamic kind of way of thinking and their way of doing things, they have a different way of operation. So at the same time, what they are doing, the real problem that they are causing is they are literally hijacking the free speech, hijacking the press freedom, and hijacking that kind of democratic principles, and they are using it to um, uh, inculcate the victim mentality into the Muslim believers, Islamic believers, and they are forcing them into a perpetual world of a kind of victimhood where they are not even given a chance to think about that, think outside whatever things that they are fed into. This is the real problem that they are causing, these kind of media. We have such a situation even in our country. So regarding this Al Jazeera, it's just like, in fact, from our, I always mention about this Al Jazeera as the three-fourth media. We have another good word in Malayalam, in my language, but for you to understand, we call it three-fourth media. That's they are they have a circumcised some sort of some circumcision. So that's how we mention about them. So Al Jazeera is also causing such a situation to the believers. So they are leading all these believers into such a circle where they are fed news in that manner, where they are constantly bombarded with thought process and news items where they are not given the real information. This is the biggest problem that they're facing. So now Israel is causing this, or this forcing this closure of Al Jazeera in West Bank. And if you look at the other countries who have done the same, the Saudi Arabia, the Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, and the Bahrain, and even Egypt. Egypt has closed this Al Jazeera in 2013, and that was because during that day, the Arab Spring and how the new regime that got into power in Egypt, which was led by the Muslim Brotherhood, another terrorist-backed organization which is known for terrorist attacks and other Islamic revolutions. So that was one instance where Egypt was forced to ban this Al Jazeera. So that's one another instance. So Al Jazeera, though they present in front of the public media as a media outlet, upholding freedom of speech and other things, behind the scenes, using the language Arabic, there are examples of hate and one-sided versions which they are spreading within the Islamic communities, or the people who speak Arabic. That's their target. So they have done this even before. So in front of the international media where English speaking or other languages are used, they always present the clear facts. You can fact check using Reuters or even BBC or other news outlets. But at the same time, when you go into Arabic version of this Al Jazeera, things will be different. This is one instance they were caught red-handed multiple times. So even now, maybe more details are yet to be made available. But as far as what we could understand from the things that were revealed until now, this is the reason. They are causing some sort of problem, a kind of a propaganda among the Muslims. That's the reason why they were asked to close now. So that's another thing. So now, another one is about the UN. One of the UN bodies which is operational in Gaza for supporting the Gazan citizens, that's the UNRWA. So some of the employees who were working with UNRWA, they were part of the October 7th attack which happened in Israel. So now UN is seeking immunity for these employees in UNRWA who are complicit in October 7th massacre. So this is what is going on now. So they are saying that they are still working with the UN and they have not deregistered, or they have not canceled their membership or their affiliations with the UN. So they should be given the immunity against prosecution and all sort of legal actions. So that's one instance where UN is siding with the attackers, the terrorists, and the people who are behind this October 7th attack. So even now, this is causing a problem, a great problem of losing credibility of this international peacekeeping force or kind of UN bodies altogether. So
They
people,
given I didn't read about that, but have they given an
yeah,
explanation why they want diplomatic immunity for these people?
yeah, because as far as as per the rules, if that is a part of UN, taking legal actions against them is usually getting naturally given an immunity. So that's as per the rule. So since
Yeah,
UNRWA
but
is part of,
if you if you commit a criminal act,
mm,
I mean, are you?
but
I
this
mean,
is not
I know you're still protected by diplomatic immunity, but it can be waived, right? And I guess that's the issue, that the UN is not waiving their diplomatic immunity. So
but this is not considered as a crime right now. That's the problem. They are seeing themselves as warriors and who are freedom fighters, and they're fighting for something. So when that is the situation, how can one call this as a crime? Taking part in a freedom fight is not a crime. That's how they are seeing this. So if they had gone and caused some robbery or some bank robbery or some sort of real crimes, the sort that we call always. This is not the case here. This is something that is part of resistance. That's how they term themselves. So we cannot initiate even a illegal action or a prosecution or an inquiry into this. This is what is being asked now. So UN is asking for immunity, and this is being reported now. Maybe in the future, in the coming days, we'll get more picture, a clear picture about this. So let's wait for that. And now coming into another one, that's from Africa, a country in Africa, that's Mali. The capital of Mali, Bamako, that's the name. We have seen a multiple jihadist assault in Mali's capital, and almost 70 people are killed over there. So this Mali is when comparing with other countries in Africa, it's having a good shape, and it's a growing country with good people and other sort of public amenities, and it's a good place to live at least. Now, this place is seeing a sort of Islamic insurgency since 2015, and now it is escalating slowly. And the people or the jihadi organization which is behind this is Nusrat. The name is JNIM, that is Jamaat Nusratul Islam wal Muslimin. That's the name, a beautiful name. So, so when you look at the global terrorism index and you search for the top 4 terrorist organization, this comes first. But nobody knows about this. It's ISIS, JNIM, Al Qaeda, and now Hamas. These are the top 4 terrorist organizations, and all these are Islamic terror organizations. So Jamaat Nusrat is a branch, an offshoot of this ISIS or Islamic state, and they are operational in this region. Okay, and they are known for such attacks, violent attacks, and now this time this happened in this place that is Bamako. That's the capital city of Mali. That's the news from that region, and they have boldly, or they have proudly accepted the responsibility on this attack. That's the most beautiful part of all these attacks. They accept it with all responsibility. They are highly responsible for whatever things that they do. We should learn from them in this aspect. Yeah. So moving on. Anything else from our this week's stories?
That's it for me.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's even
You all done? You all
will
done?
yeah, that's done from my part. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in this
Oh,
week. Oh,
yeah, one second. One story that I have missed. That's from Bangladesh. That's about the minorities. Okay, I just missed that. Sorry for that. This time, Bangladesh, after attacking the Hindu shrines and their temples, then they moved on to attacking the Buddhist shrines and their worshipping places and even the people. And from now, they have started attacking the Sufis. Okay, so the Sufis are another minority, which is a sect within Islam, but it's a kind of what do you say, a faction of Islam which is not really Islamic. So for the real Islamists, Sufism is something just like that. They are dealing with the kafirs or the non-believers. So even now, some of their shrines and their worshipping places, usually whenever you hear about the Sufism, you must listen some music from Sufis, and we have some of the famous musicians, Sufi musicians. You might be aware of Rumi and his words and other things.
I've heard
Yeah,
of it. Yeah, yeah.
yes, and even A.R. Rahman in my country, he's known for some of the beautiful musics that he had made, which has this a sort of taint of Sufism into that. Some of the lyrics is mentioning about the Sufi things and all. It's good to listen, but at the same time, it's not truly Islamic. So that's one reason now for the Bangladeshi Islamist regime or the people behind that Islamic revolution now for attacking the Sufi shrines. So let's wait for more minorities to cry and to ask for equality and other things. And at the same time, we are seeing some of the statements that was getting some attention. Um, that's from Iran. The supreme leader in Iran, he clubbed India with uh, the 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 situation of minorities is so damn bad in countries, and he was comparing India with Gaza, Myanmar, and other places. So Indians, especially I, was really offended with this because I am a minority living in India as a Muslim, born into a Muslim family. Even my family is Muslim, but at the same time, I can completely say that what he said is completely wrong. It's not factual, because if you respect true democracy, if you uphold the principles of coexistence, and if you are truly respecting the secular values which is mentioned in Indian constitution, any person, any individual, even if you are not a believer, an atheist, a believer, a Muslim, a Hindu, or any religion, you are safe in this country. This is what is India. So he was comparing India with Gaza and Myanmar, where people are targeted for some of their actions. And he was also mentioning about all these countries, despite the fact that people in his own country was getting killed for just for not wearing hijab properly. Not for not wearing hijab, but not for wearing hijab properly. Improper hijab. That's what they say. Mahsa Amini was getting killed, or she got killed, just because she was showing a few strands of her hair through the hijab that she was wearing. That's one reason. And she was a minority in Iran. So minorities, if you have to look at the plight of minorities in the countries, the real problematic minorities who are living are in these Islamic countries. You can go to any Islamic country, you can find minorities suffering from the Islamic regime, from the Islamic rulers. And the best example is Iran itself. And now we have another example, that's Bangladesh, where one after the other, after Hindus, after Buddhists, after Jains and other groups, now even Sufis, which is counted as a deviation from Islam, is also a minority, is now getting attacked, and they are now facing trouble being a minority. So we should also remember that he was so careful not to mention about China, because China was also persecuting the Uyghur Muslims, which is also minority over there, and he was not mentioning a word about that because nobody cares about Uyghurs these days. That's the problem. So
No, I
I
wouldn't
think
say
this
that's
will
true.
complete.
I think there are people who care.
No,
So they're
from
just
the
not getting
Islamic
as much
world,
coverage. Yeah, okay.
from the Islamic world, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So you can hear about Islam is crying on Gazans and other people. They would never care or cry for the people suffering in Afghanistan, not for the people crying for causing or facing trouble in Yemen or Syria or in other places. So it's always like when a faction of Muslim killing another faction of Muslim, that's not a problem. It should be done by someone else, especially if it is done by USA or from Israel, or from even in my country, if it is done by the BJP here, then that's a problem. That's how it is seen here. So I think this completes the circle today. Okay.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for watching. I hope it
Yeah.
was informative for you, and we'll see everybody next week. Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.